Okay, people, put 10 minutes on the clock. Old weird man on the door. That can mean one thing. CrossFit Fire, Chicago, McHenry, Illinois, with Bill and Jenny. Here we go. So what we're going to work on tonight, I'm going to hand this over to our compatriot. Don't cover up the microphone. What you're doing right there, shot. Juliet will kill you, and your arm's going to get shaky, but you can be tough, okay? It's actually quite a big deal to be able to hold. So what we're going to work on tonight is kind of this concept of mobilizing to the back of the joint. When we need to restore flexion in athletes, we can improve flexion by getting the joint to the back of the socket or position to the back of the socket. It doesn't mean necessarily that I have the shoulder all the way back. It means I'm positioning the shoulder into the back of the socket of the scapula, which is an important distinction. Because I don't necessarily need to do everything back here all the time, unless I'm Joe Wellborn playing football. What I need to do is make sure that the relationship of the head of the humerus is in the back of the socket relative to the capsule. And that's what I'm going to try to restore here. Because then I can move that floating hip joint wherever I want. Well, the same thing is true, and remember, if these are analogs, and the same thing is true of the hip. To improve impingement, I need to mobilize to the back of the socket. To improve impingement, I mobilize to the back of the socket because that helps flexion. What happens is we drop the shoulder into the back of the socket, and it allows that roll, slide, and glide to effectively happen more easily, so we don't impinge those kind of soft tissues into the top. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our guy. He lives in a small person's world. He's like 6'2". He's like my buddy. It's a little awkward here, right? You can see. And then it's awkward. Where do you go hug this guy? Like, you know? So here's what we're doing. His belly tight. Doesn't make this form fall. He keeps his ribcage down. We're going to test his overhead position. Arms straight. Arms up overhead. Keep going as far as you can. I'm cueing him. Oh, you can still see the ear. He would never, ever score a point in this position, right? So what we're going to do is, come on. I'm going to show you a little fun. Oh, there's the kettlebell. Sorry. We have Bill lay on his back. And during the course of the rest of this, when we film this, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. What we're going to do is take this heavy kettlebell, and I'm going to let Bill's shoulder drop to the back of the socket. So if he positions his shoulder, scapula out of the way, just like we were bench pressing, put that thing in your back pocket, you can see that I still have a big chunk of space between the head of his shoulder and the ground. And that says that even with the scapula flat, there, that's a little bit better, that he's being held forward in the socket by the tight capsule in the back. So, worried dog, don't worry, it's okay, pal.
Gabby, come.
I'm just going to hand him the kettlebell, and he's going to go. We got 4 minutes. What time is it? It's not going. Stand by. Live by the clock, die by the clock. What's up? So, look, we're just going to do a couple minutes on this. I'm just going to let his shoulder sag. One of the kids at our MobilityWOD recently PR'd on his deadlift. Instead of benching 309, he benched 315 for 4, I think. So he's just hanging out here. We've got passive drag. This is just going to drop straight through. This looks like a Goscue, looks what we're doing. And this is going to be very similar to the hip joint mob we're going to do. And that hip joint mob is going to be this. So I'm going to start here. I test hip to the knee, to the socket. Don't cheat, don't bend, don't lean back, and find out how far you go before you impinge. And then we're going to do our classic.
Stay.
Wind up the hip capsule. There's Bill over there suffering. We're going to just distract that hip with some band tension. Kick into external rotation because I need to wind up that joint. The band is pulling me laterally just to unimpinge the hip a little bit. And I'm going to shove my hip over without pulling that. And I'm just going to rock back and forth looking for those tight sections of my hip capsule. This is this capsular stretch. It's a big deal. We do it all the time because it's really important. My line of force here is always through the femur. So no matter where I go, I want to keep my line of force going through the femur. I don't keep it perpendicular to the ground. The common mistake is that I just impinge instead of driving the hip out the back. So the image is to try to drive the hip out the back and then oscillate back and forth here. And I'm going to go ahead and just camp out. I can try to contract, relax. I may catch something, I may not, but most of the time it's just capsular in nature. And that's why it feels big. I can grind, I can push back and forth. And even if I just do this for a couple seconds here, Bill's been going for 1 minute and 40 seconds. My retest is significant. And I improve that impingement by getting that hip to the back of the socket. You can see that on me, even just fake doing it. So we've got you still doing it over here. You're doing okay?
Yep.
So we've hit 2 minutes on this guy. Let's let that bake for another minute. One of the other things we're going to work on tonight is I'm going to have Jenny stand on this. Can you stand on that for me? Go over here, look at this. I won't pull the whole rack over, right? Improvise, adapt, overcome. Same idea, I'm gonna hook. If that falls over and kills me, you'll get it on camera, right? It'll be fine, it's fine. I'm a professional. So look what's happening. The belt, so the band is pulling my hip joint this way, which encourages this range of motion. So it's distracting me as I pull up. And I might even get a good stretch knee to chest right here with this band tension pulling through there. But I'm going to go ahead and line up, wind up, get that foot straight, and really go ahead and camp out on this hamstring in this position. Or true hip flexion with leg extension, right? That's what we're working on. So we want to really bias this straight position today. I'm going to contract, relax, tight, and release, pull forward. Contract, relax, 5 seconds on, tight, fighting myself, resist. Pull a little bit further, hang out for 10 seconds. If you do this, you'll feel the sciatic nerve come under big tension. Doesn't matter, leave it alone, don't need that. But just keep pulling, tight, 5 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and this joint is going to get pulled in the back of the direction. Instead of hinging and folding, you'll actually be creating even more length. So it's a very effective way to improve that hamstring position. Now take a look. Our guy's over here, he's been baking for 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Oh, you okay?
Yep.
Come stand up. So we'll do first, go ahead and pull your shoulders back as far as you can. Now which shoulder did you do?
Left side.
You did left side, and not sure if you can see the difference here, right? More importantly, can you see a difference in the back here? And if you look at this shoulder blade is resting flat on his thorax. This shoulder blade is whinging and is in a strange position. Can you see that? So in order to create this posterior position here, he's basically surrendering a lot of the trap tone and trap and kind of rhomboid bulk, and now he's flying. I mean, I should not be able to reach underneath and grab that. On this side, his scapula is flat, and I literally can't grab that because he's orientated his shoulder into a good position. So you can see his stabilization strategy is bunk in this position and a shortcut. In fact, the whole shoulder is tipped to a whole bunch of degrees, and in this position, the scapula is orientated in a strong position, and he's got full access. Let's go arms overhead, see if that makes a difference. No, that's your favorite. Come on, pull back. Look, you can see his ear, and what we're interested in is that test-retest, right? That makes a big difference. So you can see that we improved the scapula position, and then his arm is clearly in a bit better position. That was 3 minutes of just in 33 seconds holding that shoulder to the back of the socket. So let's do this. Find something heavy. You can give me a jug of water. Let's get a kettlebell. Let's figure out something heavy to hold. See your arms are burning a little bit, Jenny?
A little bit.
A little bit. It's okay.
The right arm.
Does that feel different to you?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. It looks like magic. What we're doing, mobilizing to the back of the socket to improve flexion. And by the way, we'll also capture decreasing in the impingement-like possibilities by restoring the relationship of the shoulder to the scapula. So don't confuse this position for what we're really trying to do. Block this and drive that thing back.
It's easy to keep it locked out too.
It is.
This side elbow wants to bend. So.
Did you see that?
Magic.
It's almost like this stuff works. Magic. All right, so let's go ahead and do 2 or 3 minutes each side. Let's go ahead and do our classic hip capsule mode, full leg flexion, hip flexion with a straight leg. And were we going to do anything else? I can't think of it now. Must be not important. All right? CrossFit Fire, thank you guys very much. We just did 2 days of mobility here. If you're in the Chicago, greater McHenry, Illinois region, this is your place. We'll see you guys tomorrow.